Welcome to Valdar Plays and Mods, CK3. This is our inaugural video in which we will be looking at the feature set for Cities of Wonder 3, which is my mod, of course, which is probably why you're all here. Cities of Wonder 3 is the spiritual successor to Cities of Wonder 2, whose original mod author unfortunately passed away, and I stepped in to keep alive the mod, but then over time, as Paradox continued to release new updates and changes to the game, I decided to kind of make the mod my own. I have tried to keep the original feel of the mod, which is this ability to take kind of an obscure province and turn it into a world power, allowing you to play tall, really lean into the roleplay and city building sides of the game. What we see on screen right now, the game has just started. I have chosen to play as Napoli, and right off the gate you can see two new features of Cities of Wonder 3. One is Napoli starts as a level 5 castle. So this is the big thing that Cities of Wonder 3 does, is it adds level 5, 6, and 7 castles. And historically, there are a lot of very large, powerful cities, Napoli being one of them. So in the 867 start, Napoli starts as a level 5 castle, or a burge. And these burges, we'll go ahead and open this up, have pretty good abilities, and you can see those go up, those modifiers go up. High fort levels, high garrisons, we'll talk about those features a little bit more. And of course, what's also very exciting is the graphics. So these are my graphics. I use some shared graphics that other modders use, but for the most part, this is my graphics. The walls are the level 5 walls. These upgrade again at level 6 and again at level 7 to look different. And of course, this is a level 5 castle, which does look slightly different than the level 4 Mediterranean castle. And then there's a level 6 castle and a level 7 castle. In all, I've added around 90 new models to the game and counting. And these models are for the base CK3 kind of graphical building. So this culture. So this is Norse, Western, MENA, so Middle East, North Africa, Mediterranean, Indian. I'm sure there's more I'm forgetting. There are a lot of mods that add stuff like Celtic, Slavic, Ocean, which is kind of Southeast Asian, Japanese, Chinese, a lot more. And I am looking to do something with that in the future, probably with one of the big mods. Maybe something like Rajas of Asia, used to be India. Rajas of Asia that adds kind of all of Asia. But for now, in the base game, for Cities of Wonder 3, it's those base, it's the cultures that come with the game, those graphics. So these graphics upgrade as you upgrade your cities. Again, the name of them, the Burj, this is what Burges were called in this time, right, in the Middle East, in Europe. As a castle would develop a city, or a city would grow large enough that it needed walls, it would develop into what was called a burj. Not a lot of these left in Europe, unfortunately, especially with the wars in the 20th century, but there are 3 really great examples in Germany still up, one being Rothenburg, so you can look that up, and those are really cool. And there's a lot of examples of this outside of Europe still standing, especially in Arabia, North Africa. Again, some of those have been unfortunately destroyed in wars, but there are still some great examples of this standing, of these old burges still standing today. At game start, and every time you build a burge, by the way, you get an option, which is what sort of special building does your wondrous city have? And this means that your city starts with one of these kind of unique buildings. And the only thing about these buildings is you can't double up. So if you are in a province, for instance, where you can build a cathedral, right, that's at game start allows cathedrals, you won't be able to build a cathedral. If it's somewhere that gets a palace, you can't build a palace, etc. Each one of these has different modifiers, which you can see. You can pick what you want. So if I build the walls, my fort level goes up, I get more gold, and that gets built in a normal spot. And then, of course, I get another spot, another building slot to take that up, because I don't want to take that away from anyone. All right, so at this point, we have our burj, we have our special building. We can, of course, build the other stuff that we normally build if we wanted to. So now that's kind of the base. That's what Cities of Wonder 3 really is, this ability to build these big cities, turn something very unique, build something very unique. You can tell, though, that if we go and look and you think, well, it takes a long time just to get to a castle 4. A castle 5, what does that take? Or a castle 6? Well, it takes a lot, right? A castle 7 has to have magical relations, royal armory, you have to have development of 50. 4 has to have, again, development of 40. A 5 actually has to have development of 30. You have to, again, have magical relations at this point. These require a lot of stuff, and that's hard to get early in game, and I get that. So I have added some new features that I feel really help in making sure that there's more to do that allows you to really lean into city building, because that's really what Cities of Wonder is becoming, right? And definitely the end game and those big cities are really kind of the meat and potatoes of it, right? The meat and potatoes. I don't know if that's a saying everywhere. The kind of the big part of the mod, the main part of the mod. But there's other stuff too, and I just want to show you that one side is custom models. So here's Constantinople, and then here is Baghdad, which has its own unique round city design. So these are all my models, and then each of the different cultures, like I said. So here's Middle East and North Africa. Jerusalem has its own unique model. It actually starts as a level 4 building. So you would still have to upgrade that to level 5 to see that unique model, though there's the Dome of the Rock as well, which isn't gold. I know it's gold now, but it wasn't gold then, so it does not have a gold roof. We can go to Iberia, and we can see that they have their own unique models. And, of course, in the west, if we go into London, and you can kind of see that's a little bit bigger castle. And then, of course, India. So let's look at some in India. There we go. All right. So, like I said, about 90 new models and counting. Some unique cities. Definitely everywhere having level 5, level 6, level 7 castles and walls. But that takes a lot of time to get there. So if I start the game instead, so I could show this with Napoli, but I'm gonna switch over, and I'm gonna switch to Galora to show this. So let's say that in Galora, in Obia, I want to do something special here. I can go over to this decision to build unique structures. Now, the reason why this is a decision and not just an extra building is because every mod that you download that adds buildings is incompatible with any other mod that adds buildings. So, and then you have to do compatibility patches. I want the mod to be highly compatible, so I decided to do this through a decision instead. And I kind of like it because from a roleplay aspect, you're saying, I am decreeing this happens, and I'm going to show what I mean by that. So I can go in and say, I want to build a unique building. And I have 4 options right now. I do plan to add more in the future, but that's what we have currently. You can see what each building does. You can see what those capabilities are. And then, of course, it'll tell you the next building and then the next building. So I've made sure to keep this in here so you can see what each building does. And also it tells you, so it says you have 2 provinces with either drylands, hills, farmlands, plains, or floodplains in which you could build a vineyard. And we can look, Obia has plains and Sassari has hills. Well, there's only one province with mountains, deserts, or hills, right? Because Sassari is hills, so there's only one province in which I could build a tunnel network. So let's pick the tunnel network. We'll pick that. And it says, and then it kind of asks me because generally you have multiple options, so then you have to pick. So we'll go ahead and say Sassari. So it says that we have cleared caves here. So let's go look at that. This is why this is a decision and why kind of some nuances about this. One, anytime you build anything with a decision, it auto-builds. It's just done. That's, again, roleplay aspect kind of breaks that for me. So when you build these buildings, it basically gives you what I call a foundation building. And this tells us that for the tunnel network, we've given the order, so our workers have begun clearing rock falls and some of the known caves in the area. Basically getting ready to build our cave storage. So you actually have to upgrade to that, which will take 4 years. So again, then it just becomes normal building. By default, AI can use this decision. So you can see we could take this again. However, we can't build in Sassari because we already have something there. And now everything else says, well, you can only build 1. because you as a player cannot build another one of these until this is upgraded. So once this goes to 2, I could build the vineyard, the hospital, the city watch here, but I can't double up buildings, and I can't build multiple foundation buildings. I have to start building them up before I can add the next one. Additionally, AI can also use this decision, but the rule's a little bit different. AI cannot use the decision until all of their building slots are full. So if I was AI and I built all 3 of these, then I could use the decision, which would allow me to build it, and it would add 1 more slot. As long as I think I have less than 6 slots, I think that's the rule. Forget right off the top of my head, but it's basically there's a cap out, so it won't just add forever, but it does allow the AI to add a building if they build everything else first. So that's one way in which you can kind of lean into building your cities special. Additionally, what I have added, so now we're going to pop over here and we're going to switch to being this guy. And he's got some wars, so stick with me for just a quick second. Let's use our little, I started in the cheat menu. Just so I could show this stuff off very quickly. Probably should have done this before the video started, but hey, that's okay. It's all okay, right? So in this instance, it actually kind of works out because I want to show a few things. Okay, so again, Ivar the Boneless, and my main capital is a tribal holding. This is my realm capital. Now, of course, I have now taken some areas that are feudal, but let's say that that's not the route you went. You're just tribal, right? As a tribal holding, the first thing that I've done is I've given you all the way up to a grand tribal village. This, especially with the new buildings that have been added that you can build, and then I'm also, if you use something like Rice or one of the other really big popular mods that does add, of course, tribal buildings, there's just a lot more options here, and I wanted the tribal holding to go ahead and have a 3rd level to just kind of make it more on par with kind of a lower level feudal. Additionally, there's now a new 4th level that is the mod, right, which is actually the 1st level, Castle 1 of a feudal building. And this says that it's a mod, so the small but affordable fortification is situated upon a raised earthwork. That's the description for a mod. But it says once built, your realm will change to feudal or clan. So this provides a whole new way for you to go to being feudal or clan without having to spend all of the time of researching all of the tribal innovations and or joining, right, doing the whole thing where you can't be unreformed, because the only culture, or I think it's like West African pagan, is the only religion that you can go to feudal with unreformed. And there are just examples in history of these kind of unreformed, quote, pagan religions building feudal societies. So I get it from a CK3 point of view, from the mechanics, but this just provides a new way to do this without having to, the game forcing you to go conquer, and it's very spammy, right? So the game says you have to go conquer the 3 holy sites, you have to do all this stuff, and then after spending hundreds of years, then you can become feudal, or you can swear fealty to a king who's feudal and convert, but you still, by the way, can't be unreformed. So it just makes it where you can't play tall, right? I mean, it really does. It kind of makes it where you can't start as tribal and play tall without spamming, and I don't like that. I want you to be able to lean into the role play. So now, as long as you have the gold, which it is expensive, right? It starts at 3,300, but again, if you're a tribal and you're a raiding, that's not too hard to do. And quite a bit of prestige, but again, if you're a raiding and getting all those nice battles, especially if you're a Viking and can sacrifice for piety, that's for piety and also prestige and all the stuff that comes with all the battles, you're going to be fine, right? Every time you raid, you kidnap someone, sell them back. Gold isn't an issue. Now you have something to do with that gold. Additionally, this says that the holder of the province either has 15 stewardship and the architect trade or 20 stewardship and studied at a university. So the idea here is, yes, you can pay to become feudal, but you kind of have to know what you're doing, right? So you either have to, which again is not difficult. If you go down the stewardship route, right, and you get architect, and you have either you have a wife who helps you out, or you get a good steward, right? Because if you get a good steward and then you go down learning to get learning on the job, you can, even if you have bad stewardship, you can easily get to the 15 in the architect. Or if you happen to be in an area and can study at a university and you have 20 stewardship, then you can go ahead and do it that way. So a couple different routes. Because we are in the cheat menu, we're going to go ahead and make this where we can see this live in action, because I do want to show this to you. So let's go back to our tribal holding. We're going to go ahead and upgrade that, right? Oh no, it's okay. Well, that's just a nice event. We're going to ignore those for now. Again, using the cheat menu to give us the things we need to go ahead and test all of this out. So we need, oh, this says that we don't have the mods innovation. So getting to the third level and also, right, getting to the fourth requires mods. The reason why I want to show that is there's a few ways to get this, right? I could go in if I am the head of the culture, which I am not. So mods is being researched, and in 54 years we would be able to do this. However, there are always shortcuts, right? Because we are waiting 54 years. That's not too long. You can kind of start building up the gold, because you're going to have a gold as well. This isn't supposed to be instantaneous, right? Cities of Wonder 3 isn't a cheat mod. It still takes time to do things. So getting to mod as a tribal still takes, like it said, 54 years. If you had really good learning or you had other ways to speed that up, then 100% you could do things like, for instance, this culture, Anglo-Saxon, we have 0% of, but if I go in here, but Anglo-Saxon also already has mods. So if I was to go in and say grant to an Anglo-Saxon and grant this to an Anglo-Saxon, you can see that our Anglo-Saxon acceptance starts to grow. Grant to, oh, that's Cumbrian. Oh, sorry. Let's do Cumbrian instead. So Cumbrian, do they also have the mods? They do. So let's just give a lot of this stuff away, and I'm going to see if that can help us get our acceptance up. And you can kind of say, well, that's cheesy too. I get it. I'm just trying to give you as many paths to the game, to play the game, that seems not cheesy, right? That fits how you want to play it and kind of allows you to do some stuff. So now we have 3% acceptance, of course. This is down because of the wars, so those are down. Now, if we were to instead, and we could go in, so we have a couple different ways here. We have Anglo-Saxon, we have Cumbrian, 3%. So now, if you went to your council and you said promote culture acceptance with the Anglo-Saxons, and maybe you got, you know, someone who is better at this, then over time, once that got to where you had the acceptance up, then you could form the hybrid culture. Now you would have mods. Now you would immediately be able to start building. So a couple different paths. The only reason I say all of that, we're going to go ahead and do discover all eras. The only reason I did that is because I want to show you how we can do this. So we go to tribal and we upgrade. Right, and I do still have the instant on, so of course it's going to be slower than this, but that's okay. And then I say, now I have to have gold, right? So gold, I'm just going to give myself enough to, again, show you how this works. And then I'm going to say, we're going to go to, we're going to pick, oh, stewardship, and we're going to pick, and we're going to do one second, and then we're going to say stewardship lifestyle 9000. That gets us what we need. So now I'm going to go through here, and again, let's just pretend that I've been playing the game for, you know, a few hours and building my character up normally, and not not using the cheat menu. But what's important here is, again, now we can go and we can say I've become an architect. I have that 16 stewardship, which means that I now qualify to build the Grand Tribal Village, which again should take about 4 years. But for us, when it finishes, we become feudal. So a new era has served us well. This is the normal effect that happens if you become feudal or clan through your liege, which means that if you are, I think, Islamic you will become clan. There's a couple different rules that will make you clan, but generally you'll become feudal, again, unless you're in one of the cultures or religions that becomes clan. So now we have become a feudal ruler in a different path. So again, this is just this idea that you have put in the money and the time. This isn't instantaneous, but it's a new path to getting to feudal. At this point, because we are still unreformed and we are still tribal, then we can still raid, right? Because we're still an unreformed faith, so this still allows us to raid. So we can still go make money, we can still living the way we want to live, do the things we want to do, just playing the game a little bit different. Now, however, even though, right, I cheated to unlock all the eras, that's not how you're going to normally be, so this would now be still late game to get to level 5. But let's say you say, listen, I'm rich, I am raiding the world, I'm doing all of this stuff, like however you like to play tall, I want to get to being a Burge faster. Not a problem. There's this decision that says found a city of wonder, and this is going to found the foundations in your capital, which my capital is called Ill. So that's where I'm going to get it at. That looked like a misprint there, but that is not. It says Ill. You can see, though, that your income will go down by 2 all the way up to -8 as this goes up. That is on purpose because you are putting so much of your infrastructure and your gold and your resources to building this that it's going to cost a lot of money monthly to do this. So you got to be ready for that. So we're going to start the project, and you can see at level 1 we're now -2. The way this works, if you started at Castle 1 when you take the decision, you're going to get a Birch Foundation 1. If you started at Castle 2, you would get a level 2. If you're at Castle 3, you would get a level 3. If you're at Castle 4, right, if you're at level 4, then you would get a Foundation 4. It maps. Because we're at 1, we start at a 1. So what we're going to do, we don't have a lot of gold. I'm going to go ahead and add the gold, right? Because, again, we're kind of cheating here just to show you how this works. Go ahead and give myself quite a bit more gold. So we're going to upgrade to level 2, which is 1,400. And then the next one, right, so now we're at a level 2. And then to go to level 3 is going to cost 1,500. So we're going to upgrade to level 3. I think I was on the wrong thing there. My bad. Okay, and then level 4. And you can see now it's costing me 6 gold. Now I'm at -8 gold. And now I would have to spend 1,700 more, and it would take me almost 3 years. But now what happens is it upgrades to the level 5. I get my special building, right? Now I have all of this. I have all these special spots. I have my level 5 building, and I have this really unique, over here in Ill, right? Who's ever heard of Ill? But now, in Ill, I have this special Castle 5 in which I'm playing tall, and I can put all of my work into that. Now, if I was doing all that, not using the cheat menu, yeah, I mean, we're probably looking at 100, 200 years. But you could end up being, before 1000 AD, playing tall out in the middle of nowhere, having one of the most powerful cities in your little kingdom. Now, this is a new addition, and I'm really excited about this. Now, I have my Burge. I am a Duke. Now I can go over to this found a local kingdom. Founding a local kingdom, this is another thing I've added, right? And it says, Ill has grown into a mighty Burge. While Ill has grown into a mighty Burge, many who call themselves kings continue to rule over endless swaths of empty land with nary a subject in sight to carry out their will. But I rule over one of the greatest cities in the world, one of the greatest cities the world has ever seen. My subjects number in the hundreds of thousands, and my army is grander than even those of the vast empires that dot the land. It is time the world knew the power of the soldier. I'm going to guess that's how it said. All right, so I have to be independent. I have to be a duke. I have to have a castle holding. My capital, my realm capital has to be a castle and has to be a Burge. Okay, so at this point, I'm just missing some prestige, so let's give myself a little bit more prestige. Again, if you're raiding, this isn't going to be an issue. Give myself a little bit more prestige. Now, I can found a local kingdom. And this just does the normal found a custom kingdom or unique, whatever it's called. But it does it because I am on a Burge. So now I have become a king. So again, The whole point of these new features is I can start as a nobody, as a count, get a little duchy, build up, do the things I need to do, right? Really figure out a way to make the money, become a good steward, and build this really impressive city in the world in which I can use that influence and that power to make myself a king. All right, so that is really it. That is Cities of Wonder 3. That is the big stuff that Cities of Wonder 3 provides and gives to the game. I hope that you enjoy playing Cities of Wonder 3. Give me feedback on my Discord and watch the news for new stuff coming in the future.